getting ready to go all the way live, baby. Here we go. It says to avoid any legal snags, let the other person know that they're being recorded. So you're being recorded right now, Uncle Bill.
Oh, I feel violated.
You old greasy shit ass you. So you've done a little something different with your hair this evening. A lot of people was talking about it. You had the Beatle look going on, or One Tree Hill.
I had nothing different with it. It's just I can't stand it to be in my fucking face. I can't get a haircut, so I just slick it back to keep it from like falling into my face. That's all there really is to it.
That's true. Or you could just shave it off too. You get you some clippers and just.
You know, I actually had a thought today of like just trying to put a guard on a pair of clippers and cut my hair like that, but I somehow think that's going to be fucked up. I'm going to end up looking like I did that one time.
Yeah. So we're back at it again. We're doing part 2, number 2, of the Dead Pits reunion for 2020, answering your questions live here on YouTube and Facebook and wherever else you son of bitches are watching it. But we had a big crowd Friday night for the live Dead Pit premiere. We're going to with the questions, and I'm going to try to remember what we've answered and what we haven't answered. And if you remember us talking about this before, Uncle Bill, just let me know. But we've got a shit ton of questions on here. We're going to go over some more shit along the way. We're going to go ahead and get started. How does that sound?
Let's fire it
up. Okay. Joseph Purdue, our good friend Joseph, known him for a long time, sends me Christmas cards. Nice fella. He got a lovely question here. He said, who's going to eat ass first?
Who's to say that somebody already has it?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. You realize how old we are? We've done quite a lot of,
Yeah.
Uncle Bill's been eating my ass for many years, so y'all know. Preferably with the creamy French dressing. That's my favorite.
And it's dark and cavernous, like your soul.
Let's see. David Cross. You don't want to mix him up with the legendary Christopher Cross, who didn't he pass away recently or something like that? Had that song. Yeah, I think he did. Ride like the wind till I'm free again.
Didn't he also? Is he the one that did? Yeah, he's the one that did the Arthur theme too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did a lot of really like early '80s poppy type weird, prog shit mixed. Poppy prog.
There's also crisscross, which will make you jump. There's that too.
But I think Chris killed himself. It's just Cross is left. So.
Oh Jesus! Well, they do just fucking kind of like hop. There's only one of them.
Let's see here. Are there any horror-themed TV streaming series you're watching? He mentions Walking Dead, Black Mirror, Creep Show, Channel Zero. He says, I know Uncle Bill used to watch The Walking Dead, and CK never did. Well, I did watch the entire first season, but after that, I kind of... and he continues going on about Black Mirror. He says that I've never even heard of that. Creep Show. The thing about the Creep Show series is, and I'll probably get the Blu-ray of it. It's coming out. Is it's like independent films, right? Like independent short movies. So there's not a whole lot of consistency with that. I mean, by the sound of it.
Well, I watched 3 of those, I think, that were on Shudder, and it's kind of reminiscent of the Masters of Horror series. I guess that would be the closest thing you could compare it to now. It's okay. I mean, it didn't blow my skirt up or anything, but it was all right.
I think that's going to be going to be one of those Blu-rays that comes out and it's going to be really, really cheap from like the get-go. Maybe I'm wrong, and that's when I'll get it.
You're probably right. The Walking Dead, though, I had to quit watching that show because once it got to, I guess, the last 2 seasons, if it wasn't like stupid enough and just dragging on by that point, then it really like started to do that by the end. I just couldn't hang in there. Much like wrestling, I couldn't hang in there for a long time, and then I just recently started watching that again. So who knows what happened?
Yeah, I think with me, I just watch wrestling out of just habit. Like, it's Monday. That's kind of what I've always done. But now, with DVR, I fast forward through a great majority of it. I watch it about an hour and a half in and get completely caught up by the end of it. As far as the horror TV shows with me, I've not seen any of the ones that you mentioned on here. I've never even heard of Black Mirror. But I have been out of the game for a little bit, so.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one either. I don't really watch anything else I can think of, like, on a regular basis.
Jean Grande, you remember him? That's a blast from the past right there.
Yep.
How would you rank the French Five? My ranking would be High Tension number 1, Inside number 2, Martyrs number 3, Them number 4, Frontiers number 5. Wow, I haven't even thought of those movies in a long time, but the top 3 I definitely are all classics to me. I love High Tension, Inside, and Martyrs. I think for me, the film out of all those that when I watched it fucking just shocked me at how wild it was when I turned it on, and that would have been Martyrs.
I would.
God, it's like a fucking blender of insanity when you fucking start watching that movie.
Yeah, it's like being put through something. Like you run a gauntlet of shit being thrown at you by the time you're done with it.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say maybe High Tension was kind of like that as well, but we were already used to it by that. So it would be, I would say Martyrs would be my top choice, and then Inside, and then High Tension.
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember Frontiers. Like, I know we watched it, and I know we reviewed it, but I don't remember anything about it, so I can't really put that one on the list. I'd probably go Martyrs, High Tension, Inside, and what was the other one besides Frontiers?
Them, which I remember we've seen, but I can't recall it. I can't recall Frontiers either. I would say, what did I say? Inside would be number 3. I liked Inside as well. Martyrs and High Tension's kind of neck and neck.
The only reason I really like High Tension is because I think it was us. We saw it in the theater, like when it came out, and it was in friggin' Pikeville of all places. Like I don't know what year that came out, like 2000.
Yeah, like 2003, maybe 2004.
Yeah,
I can't remember. But yeah, we were the only ones in that movie theater.
It's weird to be in a movie like that in Pikeville, Kentucky. I'll say that.
So, continuing on here, like I said, we got a ton of questions. Zachary Wells, have you guys been enjoying The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs at all on Shudder?
I think we kind of talked about that. There's a separate question that was talking about Joe Bob's Drive-In. I haven't watched it. Maybe I tried to watch some of it. I don't know. So I wouldn't say I've been enjoying it.
That would be a good question for Steve. I do not have Shudder simply because I have way too many streaming services as it is, and I don't even watch those. So, it's kind of like I either have all these services or have usernames and passwords for all these services, so I just can't justify paying another. What is Shudder, like $6 a month or something like that? I know it's not very much. Another one from Grande John says, did you think Hereditary was overrated? He said, I thought it sucked. Also, are you guys a fan of Argento's Trauma and the Stendhal Syndrome?
Okay, so the first part, I can't really answer that because I've never seen Hereditary. I've heard people talk about it, but never seen it.
Yeah, I've heard, and that seems to be a one of the movies. There's like 2 or 3 movies that people keep mentioning on here that we need to see. So Hereditary, we have on Vudu. I watched the trailer for it. I'm thinking it's the same creepy little girl place in it, maybe. I mean, she's very. I don't know if she has some sort of what's that? Oh gosh, some kind of deformity or something to her face. She's in it. I think it's the girl from A Quiet Place, if I'm not mistaken. But it looks interesting.
It does. I've never heard anything about it. I don't know like how it ends, or usually when the movie gets that popular, you'll hear some spoilers about it. But I've just never got around to watching it. As for the second part of the question, which what the fuck was the second part of the question? Now that I bring it up,
Argento's Trauma and the Stendhal Syndrome. Been a long time since I've seen those movies.
Yeah, I remember watching those when they put out the new, when I think it's Blue Underground put out the DVD of Stendhal Syndrome. I remember liking that, and I remember watching Trauma, and it was in one of those like Anchor Bay collection tin things.
Right. A lot of the artwork for the Italian horror movies that Anchor Bay did was very similar to one another. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, like, if you really weren't into Argento, like, there's no way you know what those movies were or be able to separate them, because basically they all look exactly the same. Like
you're gonna have to turn it off. Showing I've got poor connection. All right, can you see me?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Herbert West said, have you heard anything from Michael Felcher lately? What do you think about the rumor of a new Friday the 13th Blu-ray box set?
It's weird because the only way that I keep in touch with Felcher now is he does these live chats, and sometimes he does live auctions, and every now and then I'll be going on Facebook and I'll see him on there. And it's somebody asked him that question on the chat, and he did the typical Felcher thing where he was like, "Oh yeah, I may have heard about that, but who's to say?" And all that shit, which means yes, that's definitely coming out. Like that's always what he does. Like right before something's going to come out, but he can't talk about.
Who's going to? Is it maybe a Scream Factory release or something like that?
Yeah, it has to be something like that. Yeah.
But that would mean that the Friday the 13th lawsuit would be. Isn't it? We were talking about that the other night, so.
All I know is if you go back and watch the last live chat, I don't know if it's still up on his page or whatever. I don't know if he records those or not, but if you go up there and watch it, somebody asked that question, and he does the thing where, like, you know how he does, where he's like, yeah, it's funny, I heard about that too, where he purposely doesn't answer it.
I think at this point, though, Scream Factory needs to pull out the 4K card. We've already gotten, I don't know how many different Friday the 13th Blu-rays. So they need to make it up the ante a little bit. Synapse already has 4K out, right? Vinegar Syndrome is coming out with some 4Ks. Even though, I mean, how good is Jason Takes Manhattan going to look in 4K? I don't know, but, it would at least be something that hasn't come out at this point yet. And if Scream Factory has a 4K box set with 8 movies, it's probably going to be about $350.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem. The other problem is that it's going to sell out almost immediately if they do that. Like, I know it will. Yeah, I am too. But, I mean...
well, that's the thing, like, because we're fucking, like, we're dumb. basically, because the Friday the 13th box set now, if you have it with the 10 and all that stuff in it, you can probably sell that thing for what, at least a good $200 bucks.
Well,
easily, maybe $250.
In that last auction, he sold one of them. I think it went for like over $200.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
well, you can't really judge much on that auction though, because people they can just go ape shit.
Let me tell you, if you ever get a chance, like, and he does another one of those auctions, if you're just like a casual horror fan, get on there, because like he does sell some pretty awesome shit, and shit that like you can't really get anywhere. It doesn't really exist on like eBay or anything like that. The problem is, I don't know who's bidding on this shit, but they must be some actors.
Have you you watched any of Sean Clark's auctions and stuff? I've just seen pictures of some of the stuff that he's going to auction. I'm wondering how much some of that stuff's actually went for. Like, he had a laser disc of Nightmare on Elm Street that was signed by like 15 people or something like that he was going to auction off.
No, but like I was watching. This is on Shudder too, which is seriously to God another reason you need to get Shudder. There's a new series called Cursed Films, which is about like the legends of films that apparently have a curse on them, like Poltergeist, The Crow.
Poltergeist has a curse.
Yeah. But in that, Sean Clark's in the Poltergeist, and he actually owns the fucking clown from that movie.
So, yeah. I've heard of the show, and I think that he posted, like, whenever that show came out or whatever, he posted a picture of the clown. Sean Clark's got some crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's got real screen use, like Michael Myers mask from the films. He shows all those. I'm just sitting there like, and I've got like a ton of shit over here, by the way. I'm sitting there like, fuck. I mean, you're never going to get that shit. And there's no way.
Well, I mean, you got to think he's kind of been in the business one way or another for probably about 20 years, and lives out there in L.A. So, I mean, it's easy access for him to say, hey, what do you yeah, you know.
That's probably exactly how he does it too. They just
if you got it, man. Yeah. All right, so continuing on. Yeah, but if the Friday the 13th set comes out, that would be huge for Scream Factory, because they haven't released any. There haven't been any that I've been like, they're running out of shit to release.
Yeah,
so that would be huge.
It's really scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I think I said that about 2 years ago. The problem is they just keep re-releasing older stuff that they've already released in like new collector's edition tins and shit. I'm just like, no, we're not go through all
that. Jason Eugene Tria. Given the success of the film Joker, will we see a surge of lard-ass jokers at conventions? This is reference to something that was on the fucking show at one time, right? Didn't we talk about like cosplayers, and there was like lard-ass Batman and lard-ass Jokers and shit? I'm thinking that's what it is. I believe we did. Yeah, I'm thinking it's something. Yeah. So yeah, you probably will see an increase of lard-ass Jokers, lard-ass Batman, even maybe lard-ass Aquaman.
Yeah, lard-ass. That's the thing. That's true though. I don't remember talking about that, but that is definitely 100% true. Like whenever you see something get popular, you can about guarantee there's going to be 1,000 different people that should not be wearing the outfits that they're in, doing like cosplay of those things.
There was, this was like a couple years ago now. I have a picture somewhere, and it's at my work, they let you do Halloween. You know, you can dress up as long as it's nothing like you can't be a devil or a witch or anything. And there was one department that dressed up as superheroes, and this girl was dressed up as the Incredible Hulk, or she was supposed to be the Incredible Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And she had a just a green sweatshirt, and she had put green face paint on, and I swear to God, she looked more like a fucking coal miner than she looked like the Incredible Hulk. That paint looked like she had just smeared it all over her face, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you know, that's another thing about like people in horror movies. Like you can tell the people that aren't really into horror movies by how well they dress up for like Halloween, because you don't really put any effort into it if you just don't give a shit. Like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, I won't always dress up as. Yeah, I mean it's usually something that nobody expects is what I do. But I usually, like last year or the year before last, I was Dr. Phil. I don't know if you remember seeing the.
That was amazing. That was actually like I think my favorite video.
Yeah, and I was Macho Man the year before, which people could. And this past year I was Chris Stapleton, which that was kind of. I think people like that too, but that was mainly just stuff that I already had aside from the wig. So.
Yeah, it was pretty good too, I have to admit.
So I'm not sure what I'll be this year at all. But it's always fun. I enjoy that. I mean, hell, whatever. Brian Andrew Piotrowski, you know, the one that likes to suck plenty of dick, he asked, why did Uncle Bill turn his back on the fans?
Listen, just so we're clear on this, I just lost my smile. And I had to go away for a while to find it again. But I'm back.
You know, a lot of people don't realize this too. And I was looking, like I had discovered all kinds. It's like a plethora of Dead Pit goodness earlier today on the hard drive. And I was looking like at which it also included every midweek obliteration, every MySpace show that we ever did. And I think that there was a point there, and you can tell me if looking back, where it would seem we would get to a point where every time we were together, we were recording every fucking thing that was going on. Everything. Like to and from.
True, yeah.
And it got to be, and I mean, part of that may have been my fault too. It got to be to the point where, God, I mean, when the fuck can you just bullshit, you know, and not record everything? For years, it was every.
I can remember you calling. I can remember you calling up at my house at the time, and you know we were just talking and stuff, and then you'd be like, "Okay, well, let's just go ahead and record this." Like, what the fuck we're recording? The midweek obliteration or the fucking, you know, something else or something. It was like every time we talked, even on the phone, we were recording something.
Right.
Some sort of promo.
And that's the thing, like we talked about every week, but there for God, I mean, it was every year we did the show up until what? I was trying to figure out when we quit doing the midweek show. I think it was like a year before we actually quit doing the actual show. So it was technically 2 shows. We did like a 2.5 hour Dead Pit show. We did a half an hour midweek show, sometimes an hour long midweek show. So it's a lot of stuff. It was a lot of stuff to do.
I just really didn't want to drop the Dead Pit Championship belt. So I just left, took it with me.
Yeah, you like Buddy Landell.
Yeah.
He had a big collection of like shit-ass wrestling championships over the years.
That's a whole other story. Like how many belts that he.
That really is true too. That should be on like next season of Dark Side of the Ring. Talk about, you know, the dark side of Buddy Landell.
But nobody would have any idea who the fuck that was. So.
Let's see. Zachary Wells again said, recently watched Into the Pit documentary for the first time on YouTube after years of being unable to get my hands on a copy. I really enjoyed it. My question is, will we ever get the long-awaited sequel, Into the Pit 2? Make room for Daddy!
I don't think so. I really don't see Kelly coming back from Wisconsin to visit us right now and do another documentary.
That's true. We could like just shoot it ourselves and film it over even try to, because we wouldn't have even their budget or even half of their budget. Just like shoot it on our phones. Like you could shoot your part on your phone and I could shoot my part on my phone and we'll just combine them. We could make Into the Pit 2, make room for Daddy. I think it needs to happen.
That's a great name for it. But here's the thing.
Especially since you've got about 18 kids now.
Yeah. If we do that, though, what I want to do is film my descent into madness from having all these kids. That's where I get like a methamphetamine addiction. I have to sell all my horror stuff.
You'll be like William Forsythe in the Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, beginning of it.
Yeah.
Give me a beer, bitch.
That's the worst. That's the worst shit I ever
fuck
read.
your ass.
It's still like some of the worst dialogue. I went back and watched that movie probably about a year ago, and I'm sitting there watching it. It's like, can you imagine even typing that up? Like that goes on forever. He's like, I'm gonna skull fuck you, fucking corpse, and fuck you. And then I'm going. It's like I can't imagine anybody even typing that out. Like, what?
Darren Burroughs, though, continuing on here, did you see the Don't Fuck with Cats documentary on Netflix? If so, thoughts?
Did you tell me about that? Or was that
I have seen it. Yes. Yeah. Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. All right. Go fucking watch it. Because this shit, I'm not going to really talk about what goes on in it, but the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, how did I not hear about this guy at all? And I really didn't, because I record every 2020, every Dateline, and they'd never talked about the story before. But basically, the story is the guy starts off as he makes these videos on the internet killing cats. And a Facebook group starts up all this, trying to figure out who this motherfucker is, because you don't fuck with cats. That's where they got the name. So he keeps fucking with him, the guy, and is eventually later on in the documentary, he was like, I'm done playing with pussies. This time I'm going to kill a real human being. And he does, and films it.
Jesus.
So, yeah, but it's all like it is really good. We started watching it, and it was one of those when we finished it the next day. I can't remember how many parts it is, but it was so good. We're like, God, I don't want to stop watching it. But yeah, it's really good. It is. I would say I haven't seen all of Tiger King, but I'd say it's better than Tiger King just because Tiger King, I was like, okay, I can watch this road. This one, I was like, I couldn't wait to watch the next episode of it just to see what happened,
Yeah.
Really good, though. Zachary Wells is burning it up tonight. No, we already read that question. Fuck you, Zachary. That was last. That was the last show.
You suck. That
was the Biodome cast.
I don't want to talk about Biodome anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever hear that movie
again. Jack Cook, who we knew as one time the Scab Boy. You remember him? That's a name from the past.
He's like the biggest Friday the 13th collector of all time.
Yeah. 11, he says 11 plus years ago, you guys discussed heavily the notion that quality transfers of movies would be available in digital non-disc format. A lot seem to believe that it was more in the distant future than it actually was. So here's the question. Do you actually like the streaming 4K movie better than the disc option? He says that I love it a lot more than I believed I would.
It's like, I guess you could equate it to like albums in a way, because like digital music is 1,000 times easier to just stream than an album. But there's something about an album There's also, to me, something about like a Blu-ray or a 4K or something like that when you watch it. Maybe it's the ritual of it, or I don't know what it is, but I actually I prefer streaming just because of how convenient it is. But like, I actually think that the Blu-ray-esque digital movies like that look better.
Streaming too, like you said, it's convenient. That's why it's probably the number one, I guess, format right now, if you call that a format. Just because a lot of people, and let's be honest, DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff take up a lot of room as well. Like, that was one of the big reasons back years ago whenever I started getting into voodoo hardcore. Because there was still a lot of stuff that I wanted to own on Blu-ray, but a lot of the mainstream, like newer stuff that was coming out, I was fine just streaming it and just so I could watch it if I wanted to see it, you know. But as far as the 4K goes, for me at least, I would rather, if I'm going to watch it in 4K, I'd rather have it on the disc, just because when you stream in 4K, it uses up a shit ton of your bandwidth and your data. Because I use my so you gotta be careful of that. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, the 4K thing, a lot of people keep saying that 4K is going to be the final physical format, and they said that about Blu-ray too. There's always going to be that special market for people that want the actual item to put it on their shelf.
And you look at it with what happened with Screen Factory, and it's like all Screen Factory does now is cater to collectors. They don't even try to make anything like mainstream. They're just like, okay, we got this movie we need to sell. We'll throw a poster in there. We might have an action figure. And we'll make it $80, but they're clearly directing everything towards like hardcore fans.
You know, like, I'm surprised, though. We were talking about this. I can't remember if I was talking about this with you or who it was. That I'm surprised Screen Factory hasn't tried to get into the soundtrack market a little bit more with a lot of their releases. I don't know how the rights issues go with that. If you have rights for the movie itself, if you automatically have rights for soundtrack or what. But a lot of their limited editions, to me, I would be more up for if they included the vinyl than the poster, because I don't only have so much wall.
Yeah.
And all that shit's been used up for about 20 years.
I don't know how that works either. I just know that the only two companies that really have like a clutch on horror, it's pussy. Oh, it's
oh yeah, Roxy. Oh, shit. What were you saying, though?
Oh, I was just saying, like, Death Waltz, which is, I guess, Mondo, and Waxwork are the two ones that really release, like, horror vinyls all the time.
Yeah, Waxwork they do a great job with it. Mondo is another one they do a really good job, and theirs are actually probably a little bit better priced, but they have a little bit more. Mondo's been around for a while, so I guess they're a little bit more. They have a little bit more of a budget to work with, so they can make more, or however that works. Let's see. Zachary Wells is also asking about Hereditary. Have you seen Midsummer? That's another one that everyone's.
No, I guess along the same lines. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, not ever seen it.
And he also is asking you to unblock him on Facebook. Zachary Wells is. He misses you.
When the fuck did I block him on Facebook?
I don't know. It could have been years ago.
It probably was. I don't remember that.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer for it. It seems like a Wicker Man ripoff, totally. I mean, that's just the vibe that I get from it.
It does look like that.
Chris Johnson, here's a new. I don't know if we've answered one of his questions. Is Uncle Bill still training for the National Chest Shitting Championship, or has he climbed into the Master Chest Shitter spot?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many levels you can go, but I mean, the Grandmaster Cheshire, once you get there, I mean, it's all downhill. So I think I've pretty much hung it up now.
Yeah.
Now I just mostly focus on water sports.
Oh, let's see. Brendan Mitchell, wet movie. I have two questions. One, did you guys ever think that Blu-rays and DVDs would still be available to buy in stores like Best Buy and Walmart in 2020? And how long do you think they will stay around? Also, it says, P.S. Does Uncle Bill still love big black man dick?
God,
well, that should go without saying. Yeah, he enjoys that.
That's just naughty.
Yeah, that kind of come out of nowhere. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, you just reading that off like fucking grocery list or something. Oh.
So,
the question,
about the longevity of DVD and Blu-rays. DVD's been around since 1997, technically, and Blu-ray since 2007, I think, 2006. 2006, I'm thinking.
Sounds roughly right. I mean,
yeah.
The only thing I've noticed is like with all stores, the physical media sections just keep getting smaller. Like less and less things are there. Like the Walmart shelves, for instance, it used to be for like DVDs. There used to be probably 6 or 7 of them, and now there's like vinyl. There's a little bit of vinyl, but it's mostly all like they replace all that stuff with like media related stuff, like stuff for your iPhone or stuff like that. Like there's not a lot left for DVDs and Blu-rays.
I think mostly Walmart is the bargain area, like bargain bins, and they have like that, that big setup there. It's like, in between the electronics and everything else, usually is like $10 DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. The VHS was around since what? VHS had a lifespan like about 20, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Like they were around in from the late 70s to 2000, and when they quit making VHS, like 2002, 2003, something around that time period. That may not be that accurate. I don't know, but let's just say we'll give them an extra 5 years. 30 years VHS has been around. So DVD has already been around about 25 years. And it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Come here. Come here. Come back here. Come here.
Scared to get on camera, are we?
He ain't gonna do it.
You can show everybody your mini-me.
It's kind of freaky. Come here.
Well, he's got to. What are you doing?
Look at this. This is Foximer.
He can't hear me, so. What you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Look at him. Isn't it odd?
Yeah. He just needs a little bit of some glasses and slick his hair back.
Yep. All right. Let me put you over here.
You'll have to bring him down here so I can scare the shit out of him sometime.
He's not like that, though. He's not like the girls from He don't get scared.
No, the thing about me and kids that age, usually they're not even that scared of me. They just sit and stare at me.
That is usually what happens, yeah.
Yeah. I remember Piper was that way. What the fuck is that thing?
God.
Oh, let's see. But I think DVDs will they'll be around for at least another. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're going anywhere. So I'd say it will break the VHS streak of 30 years or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
Jonathan Lundy's wondering what our thoughts are on 4K Blu-ray. CK was a huge supporter of Blu-ray, and if I remember correctly, Uncle Bill hated it. LOL.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. When the Blu-ray trend came along, I was thinking I mean, DVD hadn't been out that long at the time, and also it just seemed like a gimmick. But I mean, I was wrong about that.
Yeah. For most movies that we enjoy, Blu-ray is perfectly fine. So I'm sure the time will come when we will have like the Beyond on Blu-ray and all these Italian horror, or not on 4K Blu-ray, and all these Italian horror movies on 4K Blu-ray. But Blu-ray is going to be fine for shit like that. I don't think movies like, I know Steve would probably buy the fucking 4K of Beyond the Door or whatever, but it's not going to make any difference. There ain't going to be any difference in it that you're going to be able to tell, at least.
There comes a point with all this shit where it's like, I mean, how clear do you really need some of these movies to be, and how much money do you want to spend to get them that clear? Like, I'm just, I'm not going to go out and buy 4Ks of every single thing that comes out. I rarely buy them.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of 4Ks around Black Friday season. That's probably when I buy the most of them. And then Sarah buys almost every Disney one in 4K. I don't know why exactly, because we don't open and watch any of them. They're kind of just there. But just to keep. She buys more movies than I do, those actual physical copies.
All right, you got to see this though.
What?
You got to see this. You ain't gonna
show and tell.
Hold on, yeah, one second.
If you're going to show us your Peter, you better zoom in quite a bit.
it kind of looks like that. This is Winston.
Oh, your bald puss. Well, I did show
like
you. I did.
Winston doesn't like to be held whatsoever.
That's Mr. Wigglesworth. Yeah, Roxy doesn't like to be held either.
It's the weirdest looking damn thing ever, though, man. Like,
Does it have a weird smell to it? What does it smell like?
I mean, I don't go around sniffing like its ass or anything, but I mean,
that is the one thing I always want to say. Because cats just smell like their fur usually.
It doesn't smell, but here's the only part about it that really kind of like freaks me out. So I don't know if you know, but like cats have this oil that they secrete that you never ever notice if they have fur. But if they don't, it collects like in her ears and on her skin and stuff like that. It's just weird. It's like blackish kind of oil that's in her ears, which when cats have that kind of fur and stuff, you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Other than that,
yeah, we're both fans of the pussy, baby. I like it hairy though.
Yeah, I might have to let her out. She'll bug the piss out of me. Come on. Get out of here. Come on. Okay.
We already talked about, somebody asked about the Cult of Chucky. We already talked about that. We already talked about the Child's. I have not. Somebody asked about I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. I've never heard of that.
No, I haven't either.
I don't think I'd ever watch it. Nate Kangas says, any movies like the recent Halloween you'd like to see get a sequel set years later, or in the case of Halloween, ignore some of the sequels and get a true sequel. Also, thoughts on this trend in general. So, Halloween's done this 2 separate times where they pretty much forget about all the other sequels before and just make a new movie, which I'm fine with that, I guess, because once you get past like 7 or 8 movies, nobody's going to remember all that shit anyway. Sure. I mean, unless you're like us, where you're hardcore into it, it doesn't really. So you can't really write a narrative that's going to follow all the shit from the previous movies. And it'd be good.
I'm sitting here trying, because I think Halloween might have been the only movie that really ever did that well. But I'm sitting here trying to think, like, what franchise of movies would I want them to just erase certain movies and go into, like a reimagining? I don't know what you call that now.
You could do that with Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, we were talking about that the other night, like, because it's been so long ago what is it? It's been 10 years since that remake. So I would just make make it like a pseudo sequel, but not really. And you could still just call it Nightmare on Elm Street, or just say Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's, whatever. Freddy's nightmares begin again. Blah, 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 whatever.
I think you're gonna fucking think I'm crazy, but I really think one franchise they could do that with, and it would actually be like semi-enjoyable, would be Saw. If they just ignored every other movie except for the first one and just like did a different take on it other than the way that they did that, which I don't even know how to explain how the fuck they did those movies. It's like in the middle of it, from about 3 on, it became like CSI. And like everything was connected to that cop and Jigsaw and all that shit. And maybe if they had just stuck with like a standalone kind of thing where, you know, he just puts people in traps and shit, and that's like kind of the way it is, it'd have been all right.
Yeah, Saul would probably benefit from that. Yeah, I still haven't seen the movie that came out. What was it, 2 years ago? But I have no desire to see any of the movies ever again. So, let's see here. Lay Meadow. We've talked about all those other movies. Aside from the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark film, we haven't talked about it. Did you see it?
Nope.
Okay. I did watch that one a few months ago.
Wait.
What?
Yeah, I did see that actually. It's one of those deals where the kids wanted to watch it, and I rented it and like halfway watched it. But I remember like certain parts from it now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was kind of let down with it. Like I thought that was one of those movies that they really couldn't mess up. Just make it an anthology film or something along the lines of Trick or Treat or Creep Show, and just enter those stories into it. You could even do something corny like have whoever the narrator was in it just tell a campfire story of all the stories and do it like that. You didn't have to be, again, like high art like a lot of, but they tried to, in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, they created some character that wrote all these stories, and she was writing these stories. It was almost like Final Destination or something mixed in there. I didn't hate it or anything, but to me, I was a little bit let down by it.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, the longer that guy makes movies, the more I just don't like that style of movie making. I don't know how you would really classify it, but it's like fantasy, Tim Burton-esque mixed with like gothic. I don't know what that is exactly, but I'm just not a fan of his style, except for maybe like 1 or 2 movies that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't like the approach they took with it. And it was a lot of the same stories that's from those books. I mean, I love those books. I think everybody our age was big fans of that when it came out. It was just the execution of it. And I think that was a missed opportunity because I think we were waiting on that movie for a long time. And it was like, but they'll probably make more of them. I think it was a success, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it made its money back, which is all you need nowadays.
Let's see here if there are any more that we've got. Have we talked about American Horror Story? I think I tried to watch season. You still watch it? I hear the 1984 one is pretty good. I've heard a lot of people say that.
I actually want to watch that one. I haven't watched it. I stopped watching it on the season that Lady Gaga was in. Like after that season, I quit. So whatever's after that, I have no idea. And I haven't watched 84 yet, but I'd kind of like
to. Lydia Lardo, horror queen. Remember her? She says, most modern horror sucks. I just can't do it. What are your thoughts on Blumhouse and A24 taking over the scene?
I actually kind of agree with her on that. Like, Blumhouse, maybe with the exception of Halloween 2018, there's something about the way that they make movies, the style of the movies that they make, which just clearly aren't directed towards my generation. It's like everything looks very Lionsgate-ish and very like faded.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah. And plus, isn't Ryan Rotten in charge over there? He's one of the higher ups.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. Sorry. A24, they're the ones that did the movies we haven't seen, Hereditary, and didn't they do The Witch too? Wasn't that one of their movies?
I actually really like that movie. That's a whole other story.
Well, it seems like a lot of their stuff is like very bizarre art house style shit.
I guess they're like the Hammer Studios, and Blumhouse is like the fucking whatever, Paramount or whatever you want to say.
Jorge E. Barda, I think it is. Sometimes it's pronounced Jorge, and sometimes it's just pronounced George. So I don't know. It could be George. It could be Jorge.
What about
I
George?
Say Jorge, just because yeah. What is the best horror apparel online store? He says, I suggest check out Paul Bearer Press before you decide. Well, I really, just because Paul Bearer was one of my all-time favorite managers, I'm going to have to check it out because,
Look, man, you know as well as I do what the best online horror apparel store is. It's fucking fastcustomshirts.com. Ain't no fucking doubt.
That's true. Fast Custom Shirts is probably the best of all time. You can get DEADPIT.com shirts there still to this day if you go to fastcustomshirts.com, and you can get a t-shirt of about any damn thing you can think of on there. Just search for it.
True.
Paul Bearer Press is pretty cool too. Oh, Paul Bearer Press, get you some t-shirts and movie posters. Oh, yeah.
You sound like fucking Gene now.
Oh, won't you pack my garbage down there for me?
Oh, Gene.
Let's see. I'm trying to look over some of these because some of these are not in the order they were the other night. Robert Scott, remember him? Scottra. He said, how did CK make the journey from DO to country? Yeah, I'm about done.
I think I've been wondering that myself. That's a fucking $24,000 question right there.
I still like DO. I just like a little bit of everything. That's my thing. A lot of the time when people think country, though, you're thinking of like fucking Luke Bryan or Jason Aldean shit. I don't listen to shit like that. Don't get that. No. I like mainly Americana. Have you ever listened to Coulter Wall, Uncle Bill?
No.
You need to check him out. You would like him.
Well, I just want to know, though, what's these motherfuckers' names? Coulter Wall.
That's his real name. He's Canadian. He's from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's like Remington Jones. Is he coming out with a new one?
They did come out with the new remasters of Dio's last 4 or 5 albums on vinyl. So now the film that the album you was always wanting, Dio's Masters of the Moon and Killing the Dragon, is now on 180 gram vinyl.
I will say that those albums aren't his best, but I believe I'm starting to turn into Jared because I'm actually starting to like Killing the Dragon.
Magic is on there too.
Yeah.
You can have, what was that song, Rainbow Eyes or something like that?
That's it.
Oh, Dio's ballads are the best. Let's see. That may be it. I'm scrolling through here.
Yeah. It's a good thing because my phone's going to die here shortly again.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Because we've definitely talked about if Steve was a woman, would you do him? Yeah, he's got big old titties. So
yeah, we had.
So yeah, we will catch you guys again down the road. Don't know what's left. The coronavirus is probably going to last us quite a while, so we'll probably be back sooner than later. And I did find some stuff today, and I'll take a poll. You guys can tell me the unreleased Dead Pit on the Road seas. Would somebody still buy that on DVD if we were to finally come out with it 8 years after the last season came out? Because I did find a lot of that source material, Uncle Bill.
Because if there's one thing that we like more than horror, it's money.
Well, it costs money to run this shit. So
it costs
and
money.
Also, I've been looking at a lot of things. So yeah, we got some ideas. So
fuck.
Yeah. I mean the ease of making this shit now is very appealing to me. This cat's tearing shit all to hell over here.
Oh God.
So anyway, before our phones die, thank everybody for checking this shit out.
You ain't control
she's tearing shit all to hell over here. Check everything out over at the DEADPIT.com Facebook page. That's where we keep everybody updated. Did slightly update the Dead Pit website, DEADPIT.com. There'll be more. We don't know when. We ain't to a schedule, but I'm liking the ease of doing this shit.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty fast. Pretty straightforward. We need to do it.
Yeah.
We need to do it.
Woo!
Hard.
So whenever we see you guys again, stay safe. Sturgill Simpson, our prayers are with you, and don't want you to end up like John Prine and Joe Diffie. That's for damn sure. It's not looking good for the country artists that catch this shit.
But who's next? Reba McEntire? Shit. Fucking Kenny Chesney gonna get it?
I don't know. I'm starting to get a cough. I'm getting it just thinking about it. So anyway. We'll catch you guys down the road. Check us out on DEADPIT.com.